Hi, my name is Madison Whitman, and the book that I chose is The Gifts of Imperfection by shame researcher Brené Brown. Brown wrote this book as a way to show people how to achieve and live out a wholehearted life. In this book, Brown splits into three main categories: how to start your journey towards the life choice of wholehearted living, the obstacles that get in your way, and the quality traits that will assist you in working through the obstacles. Each category has many different main points that help to give the book a strong foundation and purpose. Now that we've established the structure of the book, I can begin by asking the question, what is wholehearted living? In the preface, Brown describes wholehearted living as living out your life as honestly and openly as you can while living and loving with your whole heart. We'll start out in the first section. This is the section that explains the point in people's lives where they take a step back and observe if they are living a spiritually healthy, wholehearted life. Brown unveils all the key characteristics of not living a wholehearted life and how to identify them. But what's more important is that she shows the traits of wholehearted living and where it all starts. Brown starts off by acknowledging the presence of courage in our everyday lives, and she calls this ordinary courage. Ordinary courage revolves around the idea of wholeheartedness and the qualities that many people have to attain it. She believes that ordinary courage is the practice of speaking openly and truthfully about our beliefs and making ourselves vulnerable in the sight of other people's opinions. Many people practice this by simply speaking up when something strikes up the need for an opinion. Something as simple as participating in the brainstorming process where an advertising company provides a new and fresh perspective, and although it seems scary at the time, everybody's opinions are valued greatly. This is a simple solution to many problems, and all it takes is the ability to look fear in the face and decide to let your guards down and be vulnerable for the sake of being heard. Another thing Brown uses is compassion. Many people practice compassion every day by doing simple things like opening the door for a coworker whose hands are full of papers, or loading the dishwasher for your mom when she's had a long and stressful day. Compassion does not mean that we have to be like Superman. It just means that we should lend a hand to those who need it. Compassion also includes setting your own boundaries and holding people who cross them accountable to it. This is hard work for the people who are setting up the boundaries because many people don't like to tell others when they're crossing them, but in the end it ends up being more beneficial and effective and shows compassion for yourself. The second part is about the obstacles that keep you from living a wholehearted life, and the chapter covering this is literally called The Things That Get in the Way. This is the part where Brown gets to be a bit more in her element because this section is all about shame and the effects that it can have on us. She explains on page 36, we also know how to make good choices with our money. We know how to take care of our emotional needs. We know all this, yet we are the most obese, medicated, addicted, and in-debt Americans ever. She then goes on to write, we don't talk about the things that get in the way of doing what we know is best for us. Americans have so many problems because they don't want to talk about things that are uncomfortable. A prime example is a couple that's been married and a spouse gets some $50,000 in debt but doesn't tell her husband because she's ashamed to admit that she has a shopping addiction. So many people have relationships like this because they're ashamed to talk about anything. This is why so many people are in debt and so many marriages end in divorce. People can't handle the stress of honesty when it comes to real-life situations, and they have to face their shame and own up to what they've done. This doesn't mean give yourself a hard time and call yourself an idiot, because as we talked about in the beginning, the most important thing that we can do is love and admire ourselves. Talk to a good friend you can trust that won't make you feel bad or tell you to suck it up, but one that will help solve the shame that you're facing and will face it with you. This relieves stress and makes it easier to talk to others that you need to talk to solve your situation. Shame is a universal and one of the most primitive human emotions that we experience. The only people who don't experience shame lack the capacity for empathy and human connection. To feel shame is to be human, and that is something that every living being that is able to feel emotions has. Now for the third section. This is about attaining qualities that help you to practice the art of facing shame on a daily basis, and this makes everything so much easier. There are 10 guideposts, and they are authenticity, self-compassion, a resilient spirit, gratitude and joy, intuition and trusting faith, creativity, play and rest, calm and stillness, meaningful work, and laughter, song, and dance. But I'll only go over the ones that mean the most to me personally. Brown describes authenticity as a collection of choices that we have to make every day. It's about the choice to show up and be real, the choice to be honest, the choice to let ourselves be seen. Authenticity is a daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are. Choosing authenticity means having the courage to be imperfect, to set boundaries, and allow ourselves to be vulnerable. Exercising the compassion that comes from knowledge that we are all made of strength and struggle. Nurturing the connection and sense of belonging that can only happen when we are enough. There are 3 types of people. The ones that consciously practice authenticity every day to make a habit out of it. The ones who practice authenticity some days and not others. And those who are completely two-faced and put on a show to impress everybody. You don't need to impress anybody because we're all perfect and imperfect in different ways, and authenticity is a very honorable trait to practice. Many people don't claim shame, and when they don't, shame claims them. One very distinct way that shame comes into our lives is through perfectionism. Perfectionism is not self-improving. In fact, it's the opposite. It's tearing yourself down and building yourself up to be basically a robot. And no person can tolerate that much stress to be perfect. Perfectionism opens us up to more shame because we feel that if we're not perfect, then that brings shame upon ourselves. Christopher K. Germer says, "A moment of self-compassion can change your entire day. A string of such moments can change the course of your life." And Dr. Kristen Neff defines self-compassion as being warm and understanding towards ourselves when we suffer, fail, or feel inadequate, rather than ignoring our pain or flagellating ourselves with self-criticism. You need to love yourself through all your struggles and be compassionate toward yourself, or you will feel a load of stress on your shoulders. Creativity is an idea mainly for children. They are so creative and have such vivid imaginations that it can take them anywhere they want to go. But most of us give up the idea of creativity around our preteen years when we are starting middle school, because you get increasing amounts of homework, or you're hanging out with your friends and you seem not to have time for it anymore. But some people carry out the dream of being creative and becoming artists or musicians. These people who practice authenticity because they are free to express themselves in a world full of self-imposed censorship. There's a certain balance in wholeheartedness. Living and loving with your whole heart is so much fun but also tiring. So we will start with the fun perspective, otherwise known as play. Many people who live wholeheartedly and go out and enjoy themselves with their friends. And it's not like child's play, but an adult's form of play. Many adults don't have fun, and so when they do, it becomes much easier to enjoy themselves. But it also becomes tiring, so you have to balance it out with rest. Not sleeping, but actually taking some time to rest and relax, like going out and getting a massage, or watching a movie with a cup of tea. You need time to enjoy and to rejuvenate. This book is an amazing book for anyone to read, especially if you want to start on the path to a wholehearted life.